Today's world is different than ever before. We've said that a lot, and it keeps changing, but there's a lot of good opportunities, even in the midst of the reality of what we're seeing going on. Virtual presentations now are really electrified. There's ways that we can reach audiences literally around the world and do it in some magnificent ways. And today, you are in for a treat, because my guest today is a person who's doing some amazing work with presentations around the world. He's international, and well, get ready to take some notes, and you want to pull up a chair and listen to this as I talk to Felipe Gomez, who's joining us right now from his offices there in Atlanta. Felipe, how are you doing, mi amigo?
Terry, how are you? It's a real pleasure to be with you today, and very happy to be in your program, in your podcast, and very happy to share what I've been doing this past couple of weeks and months.
Yeah, you've been doing some amazing things. We've been talking back and forth. Now, as a way of introduction, for those of you that don't know Felipe yet, this guy is amazing. He's from Bogota, Colombia originally. He has his bachelor's in business and an MBA he got over in Switzerland. He has started several companies and is well known throughout the world, literally the world. He's presenting regularly, used to be traveling. Now we're not doing much traveling, but he's still connecting with people virtually, and that's why I wanted to talk with him today. Felipe, give us a big picture of some of your background and also what it is that you're doing today, particularly with virtual presentations.
Thank you, Terry. Well, most of my career has been very close to the entrepreneurship world. So I graduated from college back in 1995, and I started an internet consultancy firm, very early stages when the internet was just starting. And that was very interesting because it was on the dot-com boom, all the hype of the internet company. So we were part of the...
Oh yeah, I remember that.
Yeah, part of the roller coaster ride, all the fame and glory, and then all the going down and all the hard work and difficult moments. But it was very interesting. It gave me a lot of perspective on how to start a business, how to do certain things, how not to do a lot of things. And then after that, I went and did my MBA studies in Switzerland, as you just said. And I went back to Colombia after I finished my studies and started a pharmacy chain. So I went into the retail world, more real world retail company. I was the CEO for a company called Pharmacity for 5 years. And
I like the way you spelled that. It was F-A-R-M, city. They're in Colombia. I thought that was very unique.
Yeah, it was very interesting and an amazing experience. And then after that, I went into the food industry, and I worked in the food industry for 8 years. At the beginning as an entrepreneur, and then I was the CEO of a very big catering company called Compass Group. It's a British company, and I was leading the operations in Colombia. But throughout my career, something that I really loved to do was to speak in public, and to speak to the employees and the clients. And I could feel that I could make a connection, that I could really make a difference on their way of thinking, on their lives. So suddenly I just thought that probably this could be the next step in my career. So back in 2008, 2009, I started doing some keynotes like on the side from my normal job. And then in 2014, I decided to devote all my time and to be a full-time speaker. And it's been a beautiful journey, as you say, traveling around the world, speaking in almost all of 5 continents. And I speak about entrepreneurial attitude and extraordinary performance. So those are like the 2 pillars of my narratives.
Yeah, exactly. You and I both think about the entrepreneur and how we really help that. That entrepreneurial spirit is what we all need. Even if you're working for another organization, it's good to have that idea of thinking for yourself and being an owner. But I want to find out some of the things you do. One of the things you do so uniquely and beautifully is you not just speak very well, but you also play a musical instrument for us. Tell us a little bit about that. And if I can reach through the screen here and twist your arm just a little bit and see if we might be able to get you to play a little bit of music for us there on the piano. Tell us a little bit about that.
Yes, well, I play the piano since I was a little boy. My father and my grandfather were pianists, not professional, but they just play the piano. And since I was very, very, very small, very young, I was, completely captured, and I fell in love with the piano, and I started studying piano at very early ages. I was 4, as I tell you, and well, with time, music became my passion, and it was really, really fascinating. Until the point I graduated from high school, and I was in this, crossroads because I really felt attracted about pursuing a career in music, but also wanted to do something around business. At the end, I decided to study business, and all of my education and career has been around entrepreneurship and business, but I never stopped playing the piano, and it was always my passion, my hobby. And when I first started speaking, I did it with an entrepreneurial attitude story that I told you about earlier. But then clients start telling me, do you have something else, Felipe? Do you have another keynote? Do you have another story? Do you have another theme? And then I started thinking, and I just wanted to find a way to merge, to blend those two passions that I have about leadership, business, but also music. So I came up with Virtuoso, which is the name of my second keynote, which is a keynote that analyzes what virtuoso musicians have and what can we learn from those virtuoso musicians so that we can apply it in business. And I do the whole thing with a piano on stage, and I use music as a metaphor, and it's very powerful because, music is a universal language, so it's absolutely fascinating.
Absolutely. There's a lot we can do. Well, show us a little bit about what you do, maybe just a little snippet of some of the music and the way that you educate and entertain for your audiences.
Well, one of the things I say is that virtuoso musicians comply with three conditions, which are method, attitude, and passion. So method is about, being very disciplined, rigor, practicing, becoming really good in what you do, doing what you do with mastery. And I think someone that plays an instrument very well, it's a very unique example of method, of someone that is very methodical. Then I speak about the importance of the attitude that they have to assume or that they have to have in the stage, because that attitude is what's going to allow them to connect with their audiences. And it has nothing to do with the technical expertise. It has more to do with the emotional intelligence, to the way they interact with the people in the audience and the way they connect with the people in the audience. And the third condition is passion. And the passion and the love that they put in what they're doing, it makes the difference. When you see, for example, Yo-Yo Ma playing the Bach violoncello sonatas, suites, the violoncello suites, he plays them very well. It's his craft, it's his career. But what really brings you to tears, what really makes you goosebumps is the passion and the love that he's putting into his performance. So when a musician has those three, method, attitude, and passion, is when we can consider a musician a virtuoso musician. So when I'm speaking about attitude, I say that attitudes can be related to music. So for example, sometimes you meet with people that are super dynamic and are, very pleasant to work with, and there are people that, they flow, there are people that are really nice to work with, and if you could try to put that into music, you could almost listen to something like this. But other times you meet with people that are sad and pessimistic and, are always like in a low key, in a bad mood. And when you meet these people, you can listen something like this. So every time we meet with someone, we are, projecting this music, and we speakers also, when we are on the stage, on the platform, we are projecting this music with our attitudes, and that's what really allows us to connect with the people that are listening to what we are trying to tell them.
Yes, indeed. I love that. Thank you so much for doing that. You have been able to take what was boring before from what many speakers are doing, and you have said, wait a minute, let me bring in music. And also, I know from a technical point of view, you're doing more. If you don't mind, right now, looking at your background, the virtual background that you're using right now is really good. And it's not the only thing. Tell us a little bit about the background, the studios, and some of the equipment that you're using to present to really stand out in a favorable way.
Thank you, Terry. Yes, when all of this started, the COVID-19 thing started, I thought, you know, a lot of people were doing these Zoom or Microsoft meetings or WebEx, you know, sessions, just sharing the screen. And I just wanted to find a different way, a different approach to do it. So I started researching, and I invested some time and resources in some equipment. And I finally came up with this solution, which basically I have a green screen behind me, and I'm able to, through a video switcher, do a chroma key so that I am right here in front of the green screen, but the projection it's a chroma key effect done by a video switcher, and I have here this, what I'm using, which is the ATEM Mini.
Yes, nice ATEM Mini, that's very popular. That's,
very good piece of equipment.
Ladies and gentlemen, we're getting a chance to see how the magic is made. We pulled the curtain back, and the wizard is showing us what to do. That ATEM is good, and this virtual background is really nice. Show us some of the things you can do with that.
Yes, so then it's as if I was in the stage. I have my remote here, and then if I just use the remote, I can make the slides, you know, go, and my slides evolve and change while I'm talking. And I'm actually using right now 100% size of my image, but when I'm doing my keynotes, I shrink it a little bit. So it's about a 70% size of my image. So it really looks like if I were on a stage, you know?
Yes.
And it's very powerful, and people really like it because I'm using different backgrounds, colors, animations, movies, sounds, and the experience is very, very solid to the participant. They can be watching the keynote on a smartphone, on a tablet, on a computer screen, on a television set, on a big screen, and the quality is very good. No, the video quality, the sound quality, and it's very simple, but I think it's a good way to convey a message in this new crazy world, huh?
Yeah, I think so. It's giving us something that is wonderful. It gets our attention. And I think that's the real key. The reason we have that is, yes, it's not, the geek in me says, oh, we like this kind of thing. But I think more than that, it really communicates. Because I look at that and go, oh, what's he doing there? He's got a word now. Oh, it's a different background. And it seems like that's really important. Do you see that being accepted now more in audiences around the world?
Absolutely, absolutely, and the feedback I get from the people that I'm delivering these keynotes is very positive. You know, many people say, this is really refreshing, you know, because it's different. You know, a lot of people are sharing their screens, and that's fine. You know, if it's good content, at the end, content is king, and it's very important. But I also think that we're in show business, Terry. So being able to put together a show, you know, something that is different, that it's nice. In my case, you know, using music as a metaphor and having this technology that allows me to have these beautiful graphics on my background is something that has made my work, you know, get apart from the rest, get some kudos, get some praise, and clients are really happy about it. And I'm fortunately starting to get some traction, some momentum, and beginning to get more of these virtual keynote opportunities. You know, I was traveling the world, super busy. I had an incredible first semester full of engagements in Europe, in Latin America, in the United States. Everything got canceled or postponed. And then I invested a couple of months coming with this. And now, this week, for example, I have 2 in Spain and 1 in Colombia. So there's an opportunity. I think there's an opportunity for us speakers to really adapt to this new reality and to come up with new ways to package our content in appealing ways so that our clients are going to keep, you know, hiring us and using our services.
Yeah, I think so, because right now, in the midst of that, we're not having the physical meetings per se, and definitely not to the scale we did before, but now they're looking at, they still have needs, they still need information, still need to have that communicated. So virtual is very good. What would you say to a professional communicator who's watching this, a public speaker or someone who has to speak a lot and they're to others in today's world? What advice would you give them when they're making a presentation so that we stay away from the terrible B word, boring?
Yeah, I would say that there are 3 like key elements that we should focus on. One is content, you know, that the content has to be very well. And I think that today the content needs to have a lot of context with all of what's going on in the world. You know, so every message we say, I think we somehow need to tie it to what's going on in the world, to the challenges we're all facing as professionals, our business leaders. And so good quality and context in the content is something that we really need to focus. Number two is the technology and the way we deliver. Okay, so we have to find ways to make what we do relevant, different, stand apart. You know, that something that is really appealing to the person that is listening to us, not just listening to our voice and watching a presentation, which for some instances is fine, but for some other instances it's not enough. I think we really need to force ourselves to think outside of the box, to be innovative, to be creative, and to find new ways to deliver our content. And number three, I think that this virtual world allow us to introduce in our value offerings something that we didn't have from the big stage, and is the capacity to interact with the audiences, you know? So using technology to interact more closely with the audience, to answer more questions, to use interactive tools, polls, all of this stuff that we can do virtually. I think it's very important for us to include it into our presentations and to really take advantage of these amazing tools that the technology allows us to do to be closer, to have a more open dialogue, to be a two-way conversation between us and the audience, something that is pretty difficult when you're on the platform, on the stage.
Absolutely. I have to agree with you on that, because it's important that we have that interactivity. Very important. Polling is a good way to do it. Well, Zoom has that built in. Breakout rooms we have found to be really outstanding. Doing something there that is much easier to do it virtually, and we get more interaction virtually than we do even physically. Because we've all seen the breakout rooms before. We say, okay, those of you who are interested in topic A, go to this room, and B, you'll go to this room, etc. There's a lot of logistics and everyone getting up and moving into the various rooms and then coming back, all that. And so by doing it virtually, we get a lot more. Now, I love the graphics that you're putting behind you and doing that. Are you using, I'm going to go behind the scenes again a little bit here. Are you using PowerPoint for this, or do you have some other technology to be able to bring up those graphics?
So basically, my setup is very simple. I have a computer with my presentation, and I run all my presentations on Apple Keynote. And I think, you know, in the presentations, the old saying of garbage in, garbage out, I think it's super relevant. So what I do is that I invest in very good quality pictures, and these are, you know, professional taken pictures that I paid for, and I have the rights to reproduce them in my presentation. So I think this is really important, no?
Yes.
And then, you know, for me, Keynote has that, you know, it's like the difference between cinematic and digital video. You know, for me, Keynote has this special charm on the typography, on the way they handle the videos, the way they handle the images, that it's very powerful. And that's what I've always used on the stage, and that's what I always use here on my digital studio too.
Yes, I think so. I think that's a real important point. And for those of you watching this, think about what needs to be done. There's a little bit extra effort, but it's well worth it, because you're focusing on the benefit to the audience, to the people who are going to be watching this and people who are going to work with it. Felipe, what would you say to someone who is a speaker and said, I don't know, I'm not real technical. I don't want to get into all that. I don't know if I can do it. They're struggling a little bit just to make a Zoom presentation, something like that. What would you tell that person who is in that situation?
No, I will tell them to really try to get out of the comfort zone and explore and experiment. I think this is a perfect time for experimenting for us as speakers, you know? So we were speaking the other day, Terry, and if this COVID-19 thing hadn't happened, none of this, I wouldn't be doing any of this stuff digital. You know, I wouldn't have my digital studio, my streaming studio, my, you know, my lights and my green screen and my chroma key and everything. I would just be traveling and doing my normal keynote speeches. But this COVID-19 forced me to get out of my comfort zone and start exploring, experimenting, trying new things. You know, for a very long time, I wanted to have an interview program with the people from my network. I have a very extensive network with an amazing group of professionals and human beings, and I've always wanted to have an interview program, and I've never done it. I never did it. And with the COVID-19, I started, and it's been amazing. It's been amazing for me to discover this passion about interviewing people and trying to get, you know, on their underlying motivations and what's going on their minds, on their hearts, on their souls through this pandemic, through this crisis. And I've spoken, you know, with architects and artists and entrepreneurs and very high-level executives, government officials, singers, doctors from many, many disciplines, and it's been absolutely fascinating. And that's another branch and another opportunity that completely opened for me in the middle of this crisis. To the point that now a book publishing company is publishing a book with the first 20 interviews. It should be out in a month. So these were all things that were not in my plans. I wasn't planning to do virtual stuff. I wasn't planning to do an interview program. I wasn't planning to launch a book on interviews. And things just happened, and it's been wonderful, you know.
Well, what you've done is you have seen the opportunities that are there, and you availed yourself of that. And so you are really, as I like to say, we want to be communicators who solve problems, CSPs. And we are doing that. You have seen that you were doing mainly in-person presentations on the stage with a microphone, audience out there. That's good. The world has changed now. Suddenly, very quickly it's changed. And now you've learned, you got the technology, you learned that, and you learned the skill of being able to interview. I've seen some of those interviews you have, and even though my Spanish is very poor and I see what you're doing, they really look good, and also honored that I'll be working with you and you're going to interview me in the future on that. And that's a real honor. So I see you're open to it. You're open to all kinds of things, and that seems very important. Before we let you go, any words that you would give to those communicators who solve problems and how they can continue to stretch themselves even when they're feeling like, oh, I just can't do this?
No, I've had that feeling many times, you know, and sometimes I wake up and I say, what the hell is going on? I should be today in Barcelona delivering this presentation, or in Buenos Aires, or I should be in Charlotte, North Carolina, doing this stuff today. Last week I should be there speaking for the Home Depot, and it just didn't happen. And so I think we all are having these difficult days. What do we do? How can we adapt? But what I will tell everybody is just go out, explore, experiment. You know, today it's so easy to download a program, to download an app, to buy a not very expensive piece of equipment and play with it, you know, and just explore, because there's an amazing world of opportunities there awaiting for us, communicators, speakers, consultants, mentors, coaches, that, I mean, the sky is the limit. And this is the moment to really start trying to understand all of this technology, all of these possibilities. And the only way to do that is exploring, experimenting, trying new things. Some of those things will work and some of them won't work. It doesn't matter. It's part of the process. But don't sit still. Don't feel like if you were, you know, how do you say, that you lost your opportunity, that you are a loser. No, not at all. This is a wonderful time to reinvent ourselves. There's plenty of tools, plenty of knowledge, and I really encourage everybody listening to this podcast that just dare to explore, dare to experiment, dare to be different, and find ways of bringing out your message, bringing out your value to your customers using these amazing technologies and these amazing tools.
I like it. I really, really like that. It is something that we need to do. Just go for it. You're going to fall down. That's okay. You get back up, you learn, and you keep doing it over and over. So Felipe, if people are listening to this and they're watching, they're going, this guy is amazing. They want to get in touch with you, find out a little bit more. What's the best way for them to reach you?
I would say the best way it's just drop me an email. You know, my email is very, very, very easy. It's Felipe, that's Felipe .Gomez, Gomez, @me.com. So just feel free to drop me an email, and I'll be super happy to connect and to share some more of the stuff I'm doing. I think that we are a community, and anything I can do to help anybody of you, I'm here at your service.
Felipe Gomez, you are a wonderful man, not only doing a great deal of good work out there in the world of business, but also as a good man, as a good person. And I'm proud to know you, call you my friend. And for those of you watching this, get in touch with this guy. Look at what he is doing. You can learn. Your life will be better because you got a chance to know, as a way of looking at his website, looking at the podcast and other areas that he has. Your life will be better because of that. Felipe Gomez, thank you so much for being with us today, sir. Muchas gracias.
Terry, thank you very much, and hope to see you very soon.
And for those of you joining us, follow up with that. As he said, dare, Go for it. You got to reach out. One of the first things you could do, bounce over there to the website. Take a look at what he's doing and think about how you can take some of these principles, some of the ways that he's talking about, and implement those in your life as well. As a matter of fact, from an entrepreneur to entrepreneur, listen to his videos on using entrepreneurial thinking to get ahead. Your life will be better because of it. I'm Terry Brock with terrybrock.com, and thank you for joining us today.